Rain slammed down on the corrugated metal roof of Jennings' auto and diesel like a stampede of angry hooves. Outside, the wind whipped trees sideways and turned the roadside gravel into churning mud. The forecast had promised light showers, but this storm had teeth. Most folks in Cider Ridge had battened down the hatches, huddled indoors with hot coffee and backup generators. Clara Jennings, however, was elbow-deep in an oil pan, wrench in hand, as the storm howled. The garage was quiet, except for the occasional roll of thunder and the hiss of hydraulic lifts. The place smelled like steel, rubber, and old memories. Her father had built the shop 25 years ago, and after his heart attack, Clara had taken the reins without skipping a beat. At 31, she could rebuild a transmission blindfolded, and had earned a reputation among long haulers and farmers alike as someone who didn't cut corners. Even when the weather turned nasty, that's when the headlights broke through the storm. A massive Kenworth T680 came barreling down the road, barely visible in the downpour. Clara heard the telltale growl of a heavy diesel engine straining and caught sight of the hazard lights blinking as the truck skidded to a halt in front of her shop. Its brakes squealed more like a scream than a stop hand. The truck jerked sideways, narrowly missing the drainage ditch. The door swung open and a man jumped down into ankle-deep water. He ran through the rain, slipping once before reaching the shelter of the garage's awning. Help. Please, you gotta help me, the man shouted, breathless. He was in his mid-40s, face flushed with panic, his company jacket soaked and clinging to him. My brakes are shot-eye. Almost lost it on the hill, coming down from Hollow's curve. Clara narrowed her eyes. That hill was steep and deadly in the rain. More than one truck had gone off the edge over the years. You get lucky, she muttered. Lucky nothing, he panted. I'm hauling a refrigerated shipment insulin. If I don't get it to the airport in 4 hours, it's a total loss. Clara didn't hesitate. Pull it into Bay 2. Now, the driver gave her a stunned look. You're gonna fix it, in this weather. Clara had already grabbed her flashlight and gloves. Brakes don't care about the weather, and insulin doesn't wait. The truck groaned as it crawled up the ramp and into the bay. Water poured from every crevice as it came to a stop. Clara was already underneath before the engine had finished idling. She slid under on her creeper, the sound of water dripping all around her mixing with the occasional flash and rumble of thunder outside. The brake system was a mess. Rust on the calipers, one airline split, and the rear driver's side rotor toasted. It would be hours of work under normal conditions. But they didn't have hours. Clara rolled out and barked orders. I need compressed air, a new line from the shelf, rotor puller, and a double order of stubborn grit. Let's go, the driver blinked. Do you want me to? Hold the light and don't breathe on my tools, she snapped. To his credit, he did just that. As she worked, the storm intensified. The power flickered twice before Clara's backup generator kicked in with a familiar growl. She swore under her breath as she tried to loosen a bolt that hadn't moved since the truck rolled off the assembly line. Rain blew sideways into the open bay door. Her jeans were soaked up to her knees, and she could barely feel her fingers. But Clara didn't stop. At one point, lightning struck a tree half a mile down the road, sending a deafening crack through the valley. The lights dimmed again. Clara kept going. Her mind focused only on the problem in front of Hertha. Delicate balance of getting the air brakes online without compromising the integrity of the system. She bled the line, replaced the rotor, calibrated the slack adjusters, and reached the air pressure 3 times. She lost track of time completely when she finally emerged from beneath the truck, covered in grease and grime and streaked with rainwater. The storm had mellowed to a low grumble, wiping her face with a rag. The driver climbed in and did as told. The hiss of compressed air filled the bathe, then the truck lurched, halted, and settled. Feels tight, he said. Good tight. Good, Clara said, nodding. You've got maybe 3 hours left if your math's right. Get it to the airport and take the slow lanes on the switchbacks. You've got new stopping power, but don't tempt fate. He stepped down and looked at her like she was some kind of mythical creature. You just saved my whole route, my company's. Gonna freak. I don't even know how to asterisk. Clara held up a hand. Don't thank me. Just deliver the insulin. Asterisk. The man hesitated. What's your name? Asterisk. Clara Jennings, she said, already turning back to clean her tools. Tell your boss that when they spec their next fleet, maybe try installing quality parts. Asterisk. He laughed, still stunned, and with a grateful wave, climbed back into the Kenworth. The diesel engine roared back to life, steadier now, and the truck rolled into the night, taillights vanishing into the storm. Asterisk. Clara stood at the edge of the garage, letting the cold rain soak into her hair one more time. She was exhausted, physically drained, but deeply calm. She didn't need recognition. She didn't want applause. She just wanted that truck to make it. And in her heart, she knew it would. 3 weeks had passed since that stormy night, and Clara Jennings was back in her usual rhythm. Summer had finally settled into the Cider Ridge Valley, turning the hills green and the gravel lot outside her garage to dust with every passing car. The air smelled of pine, diesel, and freshly cut grass. Things had quieted down just how she liked it. Asterisk. She'd thought about that Kenworth T680 a few times since then. Not constantly, but in passing. Like when she caught a glimpse of a similar rig pulling through town, or when she passed the brake rotor hanging on the shop wall like a medal of war. She never expected to hear anything more. After all, life in her corner of the world didn't usually come with epilogues. You did the work, made the repairs, and moved on. Asterisk. So when the black SUV pulled up outside Jennings' Auto and Diesel that warm Thursday afternoon, she didn't think anything of it at first. Asterisk. It wasn't a local vehicle to clean, too new, and bearing no farm equipment or oil-stained tires. It glided across the gravel like it belonged in a corporate parking lot, not out here among busted tractors and hay trailers. Clara stood in the doorway of the garage, wiping her hands with a rag, watching as the SUV parked and the driver's door opened. Asterisk. Out stepped a tall man in a crisp navy blue suit, his shoes somehow untouched by dust. His face lined, but composed. He adjusted his collar and glanced around before heading straight toward her, confidence in every step. Afternoon, he said, extending a hand. Clara blinked, then took it cautiously. Afternoon, asterisk. You're Clara Jennings. Asterisk. I am. And you are. Asterisk. Martin Keyes, he said with a nod. I'm the CEO of Eagle Freight Logistics. There was a beat of silence. Clara's brows knit slightly. Freight. Wait, are you was at your truck? Asterisk. One of ours. Yes, the Kenworth, the insulin load. He gave a small smile. We've been trying to track you down since that night. Your name was scribbled on the invoice, and barely legible, and your garage doesn't even have a website. Asterisk. Clara smirked. Never needed one. Asterisk. Keyes laughed, clearly not used to the pace or charm of small-town life. Well, you're a hard woman to find, but I don't give up easily when someone saves a multi-million-dollar shipment and, quite possibly, a few lives in the process. Asterisk. She crossed her arms. So this is a thank you visit. Asterisk. In part. I wanted to see you face to face. That night, you could have sent our driver on his way. You could have told him to wait until the storm passed or charged him a fortune for the risk, but you didn't. You got under a truck in the middle of a lightning storm and fixed a brake system that 3 of my own regional techs couldn't figure out after the fact. I've reviewed the diagnostics myself. Asterisk. Clara shrugged, trying to play it cool, but she could feel her ears turning red. Wasn't anything special, just needed doing. Asterisk. To you, maybe, he said, but to me, it was extraordinary. Asterisk. He looked around the garage. It was organized. Chaos tools lined the walls. Spare parts were stacked in crates, and the scent of rubber and grease hung in the air like a badge of honor. Her father's old photo sat on a dusty shelf, smiling down over the shop like a quiet overseer. Asterisk. I built my company from nothing, Keyes continued. Started as a mechanic myself, believe it or not. That's why I came here personally, because I know what it takes to do what you did, and I know how rare it is. Asterisk. Clara arched an eyebrow. You drove all the way out here for a handshake. Asterisk. No, he said, pulling a folder from his jacket. I came with an offer. Asterisk. She hesitated before taking it. Inside were letterhead, job descriptions, relocation support, and one detail that made her eyes stop cold. Asterisk lead mechanic, Montana facility, $128,000 annual salary. Full benefits, signing bonus, housing assistance. Asterisk Clara looked up sharply. This some kind of mistake? Asterisk, not at all, Keyes replied. We're building a new logistics hub in Great Falls. It'll serve as a central point for all Western medical freight. I want you leading our mechanical team, managing inspections, overseeing repairs, even mentoring new techs. With your experience, you'd be the backbone of that operation. I'm not a suit, she said, almost instinctively. He chuckled. I don't need a suit. I need someone who knows what it means to climb under a semi at 2 in the morning and make a miracle happen. You're the real deal, Clara. Asterisk, she closed the folder and set it aside. Her heart pounded in her chest, louder than she wanted to. Admit, I've got a life here. This shop, it's been my whole world, my dad's world. Asterisk Keyes nodded solemnly. I understand, but from what I can see, he raised a woman who built her own legend. Maybe it's time that legend grew. Asterisk, they stood in silence for a moment, the only sound of the chirping of birds and the faint thrum of a distant combine in a nearby field. Asterisk, you don't have to decide now, he added. But we'd be lucky to have you. Think it over. Asterisk, he handed her a business card. And if you do say yes, the team's ready to welcome you. I meant it when I said this wasn't just a thank you. This is an invitation. Asterisk Clara watched as he turned back to his SUV. The door closed, the engine purred, and within seconds he was gone, leaving a trail of dust in the hot summer wind. Asterisk, she stood for a long while, the card in one hand, the offer in the other. Asterisk, all her life, she'd fought to prove herself in a world that didn't expect women to know torque specs or hydraulic ratios. She'd fixed tractors for farmers who doubted her, rebuilt engines for drivers who watched her every move, and carved her name into the backbone of a quiet little town where people came to her not just because she was good, but because she cared. Asterisk, and now someone had seen that, really seen it, and offered her the next chapter. Asterisk, that night, she sat on the front porch of her small house with a cold beer, staring out at the hills. The sky was clear. The same stars that had watched over her during that storm now shimmered. With silent approval, maybe it was time. Maybe being a legend in one place wasn't the end of the story, but the start of another.